Godzilla -1, Godzilla +1, Godzilla negative, positive. I don't know what is going on here. But let's see what IMDb has to say. Post-war Japan is at its lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster, baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb. All right. Um, so yeah, Godzilla -1. I guess it had come out previously. I don't know if it was at festivals or just overseas. Um, and I remember seeing, a lot of buzz about it. Those that saw it and got to tweet about it or share it, seemed to say a lot of good things about it and so forth, and how well it was done. Um, Again, I will admit, just did my Godzilla Kong New Empire kind of review. So I just did that, and now I'm doing this. Um, I was going to kind of mention this movie within that review, but then I kind of changed my mind and just decided to do this one on its own. Um, and I guess, this one is now on Netflix, and I think it might be in a couple of other places, because I believe it is dubbed. It was Japanese or originally, so everybody here can now see it and get the translation and so forth, if needed. So yeah, as I kind of said in that review, I'm not the biggest well versed person on Godzilla and his story and even Kong's story and all that craziness. Um, I've seen some of the recent Godzilla and Kong movies both together and apart. Um, but I think, and as far as the old Godzilla, I can't say that I saw a lot, maybe some clips, some sections of it. I know, he's fought, different monsters and whatever and has this thing. But, I don't, not going to call myself an expert in everything that's happened with Godzilla and his universe. Um, but I would say that if you're looking for something definitely different and more classic than what we have now, this Kong universe, this Godzilla universe, or whatever, monster universe, whatever that I know they have a name for it, whatever they've created here. If you're really not liking that and not a fan of that, or have issues with that, maybe this is the Godzilla movie for you. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but definitely this movie appears to kind of bring you back to a more Godzilla and what I remember seeing clips of, and then seeing of a more, old school Godzilla, at least in my opinion and what I know. And it's definitely different in what you see this new Godzilla and Kong and what is going on there. Maybe, a slight similarity there, but, really to me is just different. He's definitely got a different look. Again, I guess the one in this other universe is obviously Godzilla that's been around for a long, long, long time. Maybe the one in this movie is a more newer Godzilla, kind of still kind of gaining power, especially after the atomic bomb hit and so forth. So um, that's kind of the lead in here, is to kind of, if you're looking for something different than this new universe that's created, maybe this is the movie for you. So if you're kind of undecided on should I watch Godzilla -1 because I just really hate what has happened with Godzilla and Kong lately, I would say turn this one on, give this one a chance. I think it is different, and it's going to take you down a different path. And if you like the old Godzilla, you might still not like this one, if you don't. But I think you might appreciate this one more than if you're really disliking the new Godzillas and Kongs that are going on. So that's kind of said to say that to start. Again, this is new on Netflix now. I don't know there's much to spoil, so I'll keep it kind of spoiler free, but it is Godzilla. It is what it is. Um, I will, if you watch my review of Godzilla and Kong, I might say, another similar theme to that one. And, one of the things I said in that one is less human, more Godzilla and Kong. And I almost feel that way in this one. I know that what they're trying to do in this one is probably more impactful than the other ones, as far as the human thing. But still, I think at the end of the day, for me, it is about Godzilla and what he does, and some of that, whatever the human stuff of it is, whatever. Obviously, I think, and I'll kind of explain myself here in a moment as I go through this, probably a little bit more impactful and meaningful in this movie, and as far as the human aspect of what's going on here, and maybe can connect to people in a different way than what is going on over there in the other movies. And I really hate doing these reviews when I'm comparing two movies or talking about two different things. I don't like to do that. I prefer to stick within the movie, but I guess it's just too easy of a circumstance here to have these kind of dueling kind of movies going on here. I don't really know where this one came from. I guess they just wanted to do something more to the original, or why this one was created. Obviously, has nothing to do with the other one. So, as this movie kind of starts, it's going to follow a pilot. He lands on a small island, I believe it is, and it is where they were repairing planes. We're at the tail end of the war here, so there's not a whole lot much more of the war going on. But while on this island, this pilot and some of the people on the island have an encounter with Godzilla, and obviously he's going to survive, and one other person survives, but everybody else dies. And it is something that, and then he goes home after this event, and it is something that kind of sits with him. What happens there, what he did during Godzilla's attack there, and so forth, kind of carries with him. And Godzilla then, as the movie kind of progresses, is going to make an impact. Is going to make several other attacks at sea, and then eventually it's going to come ashore and make some attacks there as well. So he really can't escape Godzilla, even though he, would love to. He, kind of falls in with a woman and a young child when he comes back. And, his story with her, kind of builds. Then his story kind of builds as almost redemption. You kind of see it coming, that the further this movie goes on, the more it's about him getting another shot at Godzilla. What he didn't do the first time, maybe he can do the second time. So he obviously seems to be in the right place or the wrong place, because whenever Godzilla is there, he seems to be in the middle of it, as he takes another job with some people that are out in the ocean. First you kind of think they just have a weird job, but then the more you find out and the more it kind of goes on, that they're kind of out there because people know that Godzilla is out there. And so he has another encounter, and then another encounter, and they're gonna kind of build his story, and kind of pull on your strings there. How much you get involved with him, and is there a love story there? There probably is. You're gonna get to spend some time away from Godzilla, and to me, comparing the human aspect in this movie to maybe some of the human stuff in the other one, like, this is more, kind of personal redemption, and like I said, kind of love story kind of thing. And it's kind of stuck to that. The other thing, is kind of like the science of it, the world that Kong lives in, the world that Godzilla is, and that kind of thing. And there's a little bit of character. Even the little girl that kind of is kind of can relate to Kong, or kind of is friends with Kong, where they kind of try to pull on you that. But it's a different thing. It's more of almost a science kind of thing, and kind of using the humans to kind of fill you in on what is going on in the Kong world and in the Godzilla world. Where here, when it's away from Godzilla, you do get into the lives of this pilot. You do get in the lives of some of the other characters. It's taking place in kind of a post-war era. So you do kind of get into that. I think there are a couple of things mentioned about the war and the treatment of people. And, I'm assuming they put that in the movie on purpose, and kind of some of the thoughts there about the war and, what happened there. So there's it gets a little bit more personal in this movie. So I could see why, you might not be so hating on the humanness in this movie as compared to the other. To me, I'm just all about, the monsters of it, whether it's Godzilla or Kong in the other movies, or Godzilla in this movie. I'm here for that and whatever, not that it bothered me in this movie as much. I saw, what they're doing and whatever, and the build that they're doing there. But again, I was just wanting more of Godzilla. And as far as Godzilla in this movie, I could appreciate it more. It didn't, I'm not sure how they did it. It seemed like they did it more the old school way. But it just seemed more natural. A more natural Godzilla. Even to the point there were some times where he seemed a little stiff. Like, maybe his arms weren't really moving even though he was walking. He's a little bit of stiff in stature. Sometimes it looked like his eyes were just, not going anywhere. You have any person, creature, whatever, eyes are going to move around and whatever. Especially, walking and moving and so many things going on. Some of the times it seemed like his eyes were just like dead there. So, maybe not 100% perfect. But it definitely seemed a lot more natural and so forth. I thought it was very interesting. He's in the water some of the time, and it's almost like Jaws, as you see his big, whatever you want to call it, fins or thorns, whatever the hell is coming out of his back, kind of going through the water, kind of reminding you of a shark. And then there are scenes where his head is even popping out, and even with that, some of it is kind of, he actually looked pretty creepy at some point, if they got the eyes right. But then at the other times, the eyes, again, just looked a little dead to me. Like, didn't look like they were, like, looking at anything. Like, he's following a target, but not really focused on that target. I don't know. But still, certainly a much more natural and much more just... just not overblown look that the other movie gives. So I definitely could appreciate that. I can appreciate when he was on land, he's biting stuff, destroying stuff. It all fairly worked out fairly well. Like I said, stiff at sometimes, but overall, definitely just, when you watch it and you watch the other one, you definitely see, just a more natural, like it not overblown. When he's on land, he's just kind of walking. In the other one, there's scene, it's basically Godzilla and Kong are like, they're jumping up and they're basically run into action, and almost ridiculous in manner. And in this one, he's just there taking his time. He's gonna walk through the city here. It doesn't matter what you do to him. He's just going to roll around, and I'm going to destroy this building here. I'm going to bite this train over here. I'm going to squash these people over here. Whatever he's going to do, he's just, going about his business with no worries. There are some scenes where it got a little more complicated because he actually gets hurt. It's kind of funny when he goes down because he kind of like, and then like a tree, kind of just collapsing. I thought that was fun, kind of funny. And so even when he's moving in slow motion, even when he's kind of goes down, it's also slow motion. Whereas, the contrast to the other one, everything's much more sped up and going and fast and goes down, get up. And this one is kind of like timber and down goes Godzilla, and then here comes Godzilla again. So it's just funny when you see the two differences there. But I think I definitely like this more. It just seemed more natural and just more at ease, and just more like I'm Godzilla and I'm just gonna go through here, and even if you knock me down, I'm just gonna get back up and destroy some more stuff, and I don't really care. I guess the interesting thing here is that he could almost power up and then just shoot out this laser beam and just like destroy a bunch of stuff. So I that was interesting how they did that, where like the kind of what I said, those spikes or whatever on his back kind of like become blue, and just one pops up after another, and kind of like he's charging up, and then just lets out the blast. I thought that was interesting, how they did that, and that looked pretty cool. So I was down with how they did that, and kind of giving you, like I said, kind of that old school, at least what I remember that old school Godzilla being. So definitely I'd appreciate that. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'd probably give this one 3 pools of blood, which, and that is out of 5. Because just because it just seemed more natural and old school Kong. Like, again, there's going to be a human element there. They're going to fill some time with human element and so forth. It is what it is. Some people like it, some people don't. I see where they're going with this. It is Godzilla filled with a redemption story for this pilot. That's if you really want to make it the basics of this movie, that's what it is. So, don't get Godzilla fighting another monster, so you also get a lot of the, what can people do against Godzilla, and I think they make the most of it in the way they fight back with Godzilla. They do some really complicated, weird kind of thing with him, and at the end to try to kill him or rid them of him. Interesting, different. You'll get to see it for yourself, and how well that works or doesn't work or whatever. But also, and how they kind of stick to, like I said, it is post-war, and obviously that's a theme of this movie and plays a theme of this movie at the end. So I think there's some things to be said in their inclusion about that, how that affects the people who did this movie, and why they wanted to kind of maybe throw in some heritage there, I guess, if you want to call it heritage. I don't know if that's the right word. But just some stuff related to the war and kind of going back to that. So, lots of different interesting things there. So, definitely seemed just more natural. Everything just about this movie more natural. More natural, seemed more in the real world. Kind of like if Godzilla kind of happened in the real world, in this world circumstance, as opposed to Skull Island and all these weird monsters and everything. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's, maybe the best way to kind of describe everything here. So, again, 3 pools of blood for this one out of 5. And I'm still not sure what the -1 is. I don't know if I missed something or what. I don't know, maybe I missed something within the movie, or maybe that means something else. I have no idea. So if you know, and you can briefly explain it to me, you can throw that in the comment section down below, or Twitter, Facebook is down below as well. You can hit me up there and explain real briefly what the -1 is about. I don't know. It is over my. Hopefully it is something complicated and not something I'm just completely missing, or something I missed within the movie. I don't know. I for a minute I thought the -1 was Kong. I don't know. Or maybe, because Kong is coming later. I have no idea. But that's my best guess. Anyway, horoscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find more of my reviews, written and video. definitely mostly video of late, so definitely like, subscribe, and do everything that everybody wants you to do. If not, no worries, it is okay. Hate me for not knowing what the -1 is, and don't subscribe. That is fine. But yeah, again, Twitter, Facebook, in the comment section down below, all that stuff that I just said. So with that, I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.